Good evening, everyone. Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal. I am C. Ankit Sharma, your income tax faculty for the session. So today we will start our income tax, and let me tell you, this is the most interesting subject from my point of view because you will interact with the provisions you may be hearing in day-to-day life. So this is very interesting, of course, and it affects your day-to-day life also. So before starting the subject, first, we should understand the subject, the marks, the pattern in which the question is going to be asked in your syllabus, and there should be some clarification also with me, which I will share with you. So that will remove the confusion because there is a confusion that there is a 12 lakh rupees exemption that is going to be applicable or not. So these points we are going to discuss initially. Then we will move on to the subject one by one on sections, etc. Before starting the class, I need to share some guidelines or rules to attain the maximum benefit from these classes what institute has is providing to you. So there are some guidelines you should try to follow it to get the maximum benefit of these classes. Notes are based on study material issued by ICAI. Okay. The provision we are discussing is for assessment year 25 and 26. That is previous year 24-25, but it is for assessment year 25-26. So what is this previous year? What is this AY assessment year? Do not worry. I will explain each and everything. Do not worry. Just stay with me. Just try to focus during the class. That is enough. I will explain each and everything one by one. So all the study material based notes I am providing to you. All the provisions is for assessment year 25-26, what we are going to discuss. All the queries will be taken after 30 or 40 minutes. So that will help us to make a flow of our concepts. You can ask your query, you can send your query anytime, but I will try to take those query after 20 or 25 minutes. So that will not disturb our concept, what we are discussing. Okay. Please focus during lecture and ask queries related to topic. This is a very humble request from my side to all of you. We are a part of a fraternity now. You are students, I am a member. But we should behave like a CA student and a member. So please focus during the class and please ask only those queries which are related to our topic. If some students generally ask, sir, how much hours we need to study to clear this? Sir, how much hour you have studied to clear this group? Sir, what is your story? Sir, how we will calculate the tax? So one by one, we will discuss all those topics which is connected to our topic one by one. So please try to ask only those queries. Those are directly related to our topic. That will definitely going to save our time because we have to complete our full chapter and we have 3 sessions and there's a lot of things to cover, theoretical as well as numerical. Okay. Please try to take live lectures for better understanding. Of course, these classes is on YouTube. You can watch it later also. But in my point of view, if you take live lectures, you can ask your query and I can able to answer that simultaneously also. So that is the benefit of taking live lectures. So if you do not have any problem in taking live lectures, please prefer to take live lectures. That will definitely going to help you a lot. Kindly download notes before lecture for better understanding. So I have already uploaded the notes of this chapter 1. You could download it from the BOS portal or the app, etc. And it would be really easy to understand once you download the notes before the lecture. Okay. Definitely going to take MCQ test at the end of each lecture. So I will try to take an MCQ test maybe at the end of the lecture or when we start the next lecture, the starting of the second lecture. So whatever we will discuss in first session, I will try to take a MCQ test at the end or maybe on the starting of the next lecture. One more important thing, look, the session would be in English, but you can ask your query in Hindi also. So if anyone wants to ask query in Hindi, you're most welcome. I will answer that query in Hindi only. All other things, all other queries and all other teaching would be in only English. Okay. So let's get set, go. Before starting the class, let me take you on a journey to understand this paper. This is Income Tax Act 1961, what we are going to discuss. I need to discuss with you some clarification, some basic things. So you will understand this subject, what is Income Tax Act? So this is our paper 3, which is taxation. You all must have gone through with this thing. Your paper number 3, taxation, and we are discussing 3A, part A of this section. This is income tax law. And it would cover your 50 marks. The balance 50 marks is for GST, goods and service tax. So we are discussing only income tax part that will consist 50 marks. Now, what is the pattern? The pattern in this 50 marks, there would be question like case scenarios. There would be full numerical question also. It would could be 6 marks, 4 marks, 2 marks, depend. Or there could be theoretical question also. Majorly, we can say that income tax mainly consists numerical subject, but that does not mean that you could avoid the theoretical provision. You can ignore the theoretical provision. Do not underestimate the power of theoretical provision. As you should not underestimate the power of a common man, you should not underestimate the power of theoretical provision, because the numerical is generally based on theoretical concept. If you do not know what is the meaning of previous year, if you do not know what is the meaning of person definition, then you would be really difficult to solve the numerical also. So this is a subject which is based on an act. So its theory is almost like a numerical also. So if there is a question, 2 marks question of theoretical provision, and if they asked a definition of person, and if you answer it correctly, you will get full 2 marks. So this is not technically that kind of theory which we could have been studied in organization management. This is not that kind of theory. This is a theory which is based on law. So you can avail full marks even if a theoretical question, if you are going to attempt it correctly. Okay. The provision we are discussing would be applicable for May 2025 examination, September 2025 examination, and January 2026 examination. So please remember this very carefully, because I know there would be a lot of queries. Sir, this class is applicable for May 26 examination. Is this applicable for May 25 or September 25 or January 26? So let me clearly stating this to all of you. Whatever we are discussing would be applicable for May 2025 attempt, September 25 attempt, and January 2026 attempt only. Okay. And we are discussing what? We are discussing Finance Act 2024 provision. So that is for previous year 24-25, and that would be for assessment year 25-26. So let me tell you what the budget has been presented in 2024. That is Finance Act 2024, on the basis of which previous year 24-25, or we could say assessment year 25-26 provision, we are going to discuss. What is previous year? What is assessment year? Do not bother about it. I will explain each and everything one by one. So this is paper number 3. 50 marks, the pattern I have shared with you. Attempt applicable for examination May 25, September 25, and January 26. Finance Act 2024 we are discussing, which is consisting the provision of previous year 24-25 and assessment year 25-26. Now there are some clarification you need to know. Recently, the budget, or we can say Finance Act 2025, has been presented in February 2025. So that is not going to be applicable for your examination, for these examination. Okay. So the budget you have seen in February 2025, that is not going to be applicable. Why I am saying this to you? Because a lot of queries going to be asked. Sir, that 12 lakh rupees exemption, why you are not discussing about this? Because this is not applicable for your attempt. That 12 lakh rupees exemption which has been provided by this budget would be applicable from May 2026 exam onwards. So those will be preparing for May 2026 or September 26 or January 27 examination. So this budget would be applicable for those students, and this 12 lakh limit also going to be applicable for those students. So this limit does not have any connection with the provision what we are going to discuss. I hope it's clear. The budget presented is applicable for previous year 25-26, or we can say assessment year 26-27, and that is going to be applicable for May 2026 exam onwards. Clear? So whatever budget has been prescribed in this February 2025, that is not applicable for you at all. A new income tax 2025 also has been presented, not the income tax act. The new income tax bill has been presented. It would be become an act later on. That is also not relevant for your examination. So we are focusing on these 5 points. So these are the clarification I have discussed with you. So you would not have any doubt that what that 12 lakh rupees limit, sir, the new act has been come, what are the provisions of new this act. So that is not your cup of tea now. So we have to focus on budget which has been presented in 2024. That is applicable for May, September and January 2026 examination. So that was before income tax. That is the introduction before introduction. So before moving on, okay, there are good evening wishes from Anubhav. Good evening, Bhumika. Good evening, Abhisha. Good evening, Kiran. Good evening, Priyanka, Soumya, Nandini, Srihari, Aditya, Soumya. Look, again, I told you the question would be there, sir. Will the January 25 study material be applicable for September 25? No. So the January 25 was old previous year. So we are discussing the provision for May 25, September 25, and January 26. So that would be assessment year 25-26 provision need to be applicable. Okay. So Arjit is asking, sir, Finance Act February or June? Both, because in the last year, Finance Act has been presented twice, before election and after election. So that is combined. Okay. Makhwana Sujal, good evening. Uday Kumar, good evening. Good evening. Nagaratna, good evening. Priya, good evening. Salesh, good evening. Ajay. Okay, Nisha, Tanu, Divya, Rajveer, etc., etc., etc. On Parmeet, good evening, and Jilik Chatterjee. Okay. So we have discussed the basic concept, the basic introduction part of the introduction we have discussed. Now moving on to the syllabus part, what it is, or we should now more concise to the chapter what we are going to discuss. Let me discuss about the chapter also before starting this. So this chapter basic concept, that means this chapter is going to take you on a, we can say, journey to introduce you what is going to become in the next chapters. So this chapter basic concept basically divided into 3 categories. We can say this basic chapter number 1, the basic concept is not that basic, you know. So what we are going to discuss in basic concept chapter, we can say a part A is like introduction, like what is income tax, why is income tax, how it has been implemented, what is the legislative power, etc., like definition. We are going to discuss in this part, introduction, levy, why income tax, etc., etc. These are the basic thing what we are going to discuss. Like definition, what is previous year, what is assessment year, what is assessee, what is person, etc. So these are the terms what we need to discuss multiple times in this subject. So these are the terms is going to be discussed in part A of our basic concept chapter. That is like introduction. What is black money, how it's going to be taxed, etc. So this, I can say, this is pure theoretical part. Now I have divided this chapter in part B also, and that is regarding the rates of tax. What rate it's to be applicable. We have now two regime under income tax. One is default tax regime. So if you opt for default tax regime, So you have to pay tax under different slab rate of income, which is going to be taxed by a different category of range of income. What are those range? How it's going to be taxable, that we are going to discuss later. And one is optional tax rate system. Then rate of tax for companies, partnership firm, etc. So I can say like surcharge concept, rebate concept, what are rebates, surcharge, what is marginal relief. So do not worry, we are going to discuss all these things one by one. So I can say this is pure numerical part of our first chapter, basic concept. That is very, very important. Very, very important. Everything is important. Okay. First of all, understand nothing is unimportant under any subject. You have to study each and everything. Now, the part C, that is like agricultural income concept. We have to discuss the agricultural income concept, and this is theoretically as well as numerical also. So what is agricultural income? Which income is to be categorized as agricultural income? Is it exempt from tax? Is it taxable? Is it a party integration of agricultural income concept is also there. So what are those concepts? We are going to discuss one by one in detail. So part one would be introduction part would be regarding the rates of tax, and part C is agricultural income provision that we are going to discuss later. Fine. So in this class, there would be a thought for the day. I always share a thought for the day with all my students. You are the future of course, our country. It gives me immense pleasure that institute gives me opportunity to interact with the future of our country. That is going to support our country to become the third economy in the world. And you are all the future. So the ICAI, the BOS, all the coordinators, they are doing a lot of hard work just to make sure that if you want to study, there should not be a hurdle of tuitions or guidance there. So they appoint us and they allowed us, they give us a privilege to interact with on the platform of ICAI to all of you. So I am very thankful to the institute. And I guess you should also understand that how much hard work the coordinator, we are the faculty you are seeing, but the technocrat, the coordinators who are working very hard to provide you these classes, their effort is none less. They are actually working so hard to provide you these kind of classes, providing you faculties, notes, etc., etc. So before starting the class on subject wise, today thought for the day is the best way to predict your future is to create it. So you are the creator of your future. You will decide what you would be in the future. Nobody else is going to change it. So if you want to predict your future, you have to create it. And who said this? Abraham Lincoln. We all know he's a great personality. So please do not think anybody else is going to create your future. You are the one who is going to create this, and you just need to study and focus for that. Now, moving on to the chapter, the notes I have already uploaded. So Income Tax Act 1961, assessment year 25-26, we are discussing. Now, what is income tax? You should understand what is income tax. What is the evolution and origination of income tax, or why it is there? So it is not a new concept. When even it is Income Tax Act 1961, it does not mean that there was no tax collection procedure earlier to this act. No, it was not like that. There was always a tax collection. It's from very, very old time. As we are going to discuss Income Tax Act 1961, it does not mean that income tax came into force from 1961 only. No, the concept of tax collection is very old. When kings and queens were there, initially it was in the nature of lagan. You must have heard this word. So what is lagan? Lagan is a kind of a tax which is collected by the king or queen of that time from the people of their kingdom in the form of commodities when there was no currency, and after that in the form of monetary value. So it's a kind of a tax which has been earlier collected from very old time, which has been charged by the king of a particular kingdom from its people, public in kind, and or in the form of money. And that regime is converted into systematic structure, and that is called tax nowadays. So that collection of lagan is technically tax, which has been now systematically framed with the provisions, section, etc., penalties, interest, etc. So that system is technically called tax nowadays. Okay, why government need tax? So tax collection is the need of government. And why it is so? Imagine, like you live in a society or a colony. What happened? There are like 50 house in your colony, but there is a collection charges monthly from that. That could be called as society charges or collection money for maintenance, etc. So why those charges has been collected by that society? Because they need to provide you basic facilities like watchmen, security services, water supply, construction of road within your society, or providing inverter facility or maintaining a health club, etc. So now imagine our country as a big society. So as a society, our country also needs security. Our country also needs infrastructure, hospital, education system, the basic facilities, electricity, road transportation system, etc. So to run that country, government needs money, revenue, and we are the part of that country, and they are providing these facilities to us directly or indirectly to provide poor free education, free medical facility, etc., cheap transport benefits, roads, etc. They are going to provide all these things to all the members who reside in that society, which is a bigger country. So for that purpose we have to pay something, and that is called tax. So in a society, as we pay maintenance charges, etc., in the same way, the country needs revenue to provide you all these facilities. So that is why the tax system is there. So that is the reason why government needs tax, because they need to run the country. It has been explained also in detail in the notes. So I hope it is clear what is income tax, why, and from where it has been evolved. Now this chapter consists a lot of things. Technically, it's a basic concept chapter, but because this basic concept chapter is going to introduce you with the whole Income Tax Act, so there are multiple provision, and there are some provision, those are going to be discussed in detail in this chapter only, like the definition, the rates of tax concept I have told you, and the agricultural income. So these three part is going to be discussed in detail in this chapter only. But this chapter will also tell you about what is going to be discussed in future chapters. So their heading, their basic concept, their a very few concept of those chapter also consist in this basic concept chapter. So one by one, we are discussing all those topic also, and I will tell you that which topic is going to be discussed later in future chapter, and those topics which are we are going to discuss in this chapter only in detail. So that would be clarified by me when those topic would be here. So this basic concept basically includes the components of income tax law. We are going to discuss over here. What are the components of income tax law? There are Income Tax Act 1961. Then there is Annual Finance Act. Then income tax rules, circulars and notification, and legal decisions. Then steps for computation of total income and tax liability. That is going to be discussed in short over here. There are certain definition what we are going to discuss one by one, and then there are rates of tax which we will discuss in detail. So the second part, those are steps for computation of income tax liability. That is a part which is going to be discussed in later chapter, like determination of residential status. This is the part of chapter 2. Then classification of income under different head. That is also going to be discussed later one by one. Now moving on, what is the meaning of tax? So what is the meaning of tax? Let us begin by understanding the meaning of tax. Article 366(28) of the Constitution of India defines the term taxation as follows. So this Article 366 of 28 of the Constitution of India defines the term taxation as follows. Taxation includes the imposition of any tax, or whether general or local or special, and tax shall be construed accordingly. So taxation means imposition of tax, whether it's general, local, or special. Okay. So tax are considered to be the cost of living in a society, as I've discussed earlier. What is the meaning of taxes? It's a cost of living in a society. So we are living in a society, so we have to pay tax to the government. So government would be able to run this society. Taxes are levied by the government to meet the common welfare expenditure of the society. There are basically two types of taxes, direct tax and indirect tax. Okay, there's a question from Madugu Sirisha. Sir, what is the charging section mean? So charging section means the taxability section. That why this thing is going to be taxable, or charging section explain the characteristics of that particular section. Like income tax charging section is 4. So when we will discuss it, it will explain the characteristics of income tax. So that is going to be discussed later, Srisha. You have to be patient. We will discuss each and everything one by one. Let me see if there is any other query. Like Bhumika asked, sir, is income tax is a practical paper? I have discussed this in starting, Bhumika, that what is income tax. You can scroll back the video and you can see that we have discussed the introduction part of income tax already. Okay. Just a second. Okay, so types of taxes, direct taxes. If tax is levied directly on the income or wealth of a person, then it is a direct tax. For example, suppose, let me explain you what is the difference between direct tax and indirect tax. Look, direct tax says this is a kind of tax on a person who have earned the income. Suppose Mr. A, he earns salary rupees 5 lakh. So Mr. is earning the income. Now who is going to pay tax on this 5 lakh rupees? Whether Mr. A or Mr. B? Of course Mr. A. So direct tax says then when a person who is earning the income, he is liable to pay the tax. Because the tax is directly liable upon the person who earned the income, that tax is called direct tax. If I am earning any income from business, then who is going to pay tax on this income? Myself. So direct tax means when the burden of tax cannot be transferred, that is called the direct tax. So in short, we can say if the person paying the tax and if the person bearing that tax, the burden of tax is on the same person, that is called direct tax. So if Mr. is earned salary income, who is going to pay tax on this salary? Mr. A. He needs to pay the tax and he needs to take the burden of that tax also. So it is a liability of Mr. A to deposit the tax to the government and from out of his pocket. So Mr. A cannot recover this tax from any other person. So in direct tax, we have to pay the tax from ourselves. We cannot transfer or shift the burden of tax to anyone. So if the person who is paying the tax and who is bearing the burden is taken by the same person, that is called the direct tax, like income tax. If you are earning income, who is going to pay tax upon that? You are the one who needs to pay tax upon that income. So that is the main characteristics of the direct tax. But indirect tax is having different structure like GST. Now suppose you went to a showroom or a shop and you purchase 100 rupees chocolate. In this 100 rupees, suppose suppose the GST element is 10 rupees and 90 rupees is the sale price of this chocolate. So suppose Mr. Ram purchased this chocolate by giving 100 rupees to the shopkeeper. So shopkeeper will receive this 100 rupees. Now what will happen? Out of this 100 rupees, shopkeeper will deposit 10 rupees to the GST department as the tax, and 90 rupees he will keep with himself. Now tell me, in this scenario, who has the burden of this tax? The 10 rupees tax is bear by the shopkeeper or Mr. Ram? Who will give the answer? You mean the chat box? Okay. Mr. Ram, the customer, of course. Vishnu is saying consumer. Rajveer is saying Ram. Priyanka is saying Ram. Very good. Bhanu is saying Ram. Rishabh is saying Ram. Very good. So in this case, you can see, Saurabh is also saying, in this case, you can see the burden of tax. Who actually paid that 10 rupees from his pocket? Mr. Ram. But tell me, who deposit this amount of tax to the government? Whether Mr. Ram or the shopkeeper? Who deposit? The deposit is done by, of course, the shopkeeper. Mr. Ram pay 100 rupees to the shopkeeper, but actually who deposit it to the government? The shopkeeper deposit it. So now you can see in this scenario, the person who pay or deposit to the government is shopkeeper, and the person who bear this burden is upon different person. So that's why it's called indirect tax. Under indirect tax, the burden is always upon consumer. Always, universal rule. It will be always upon consumer. And the deposit personality would be different. So that's why it's called indirect tax. But under income tax, under direct tax, it would not be like this. If Mr. Shyam won a lottery ticket of 5 lakh rupees, he won lottery 5 lakh rupees. So he needs to deposit it, and he only the person who is going to bear this only. So the person who is deposit and the person who is bearing would be same under direct category, and under indirect, the person who is bearing would be always consumer, and the person who is depositing would be another person. Okay. So there are a lot answer, and one or two answers are out of syllabus. Okay. Okay, so sir, you always wind up the class with a positive and encouraging message or story. Shri Haridas, how do you know that? Yes, there would be a story also after our break or before after completing my class. That would be very easy for us. I will also share a story in every lecture after the class. Like after 8:30, I will share a very small story to all of you. Okay, my general question, Shubham is asking, is that in which year 24 budget was passed? So which budget is applicable? Shubham, my humble request, kindly go through with this class from the starting and you will find out the answer, because we have discussed all these budget concept in initial of this class today. Okay. Old and new. I have a small doubt in capital gain in section. Ikabaram, how can you ask capital gain this time? If you ask a capital gain question, the other students who have joined this class, that time would be wasted. So please wait for the capital gain chapter. When the chapter would be there, I am going to answer your question. Tanu, surrender RCM person. Tanu, the basic concept of GST is this, that the payer and the bearer would be different. RCM reverse mechanism is a different concept, and you cannot ask RCM concept under direct tax class, because RCM is a kind of a special provision for GST purpose. That could not be the part of direct tax. That was a special purpose why it has been applicable. So that would be a part of GST, that would be a part of indirect tax, that could not include under direct tax part. Okay. Mr. Ram, it's really good to see that you all are giving the correct answer. Very well done. This is just, we need to do this thing. CA is difficult course, but if you have a proper planning, strategy, and focus and discipline, definitely you can clear it very, very easily. So there should be a proper planning. Okay. Let's move on. Query has been solved. Back to the provisions. So that was direct tax. Now what is indirect tax? If tax is levied on price of a good or service, then it is an indirect tax, goods or service tax or custom duty. In the case of indirect taxes, the person paying the tax passes on the incidence to another person. And generally it is always customer or consumer. Okay. So we have types of taxes. Now, why are taxes levied? The reason for levy of taxes is that they constitute the basic source of revenue to the government. Revenue so raised is utilized for meeting the expenses of government like defense, provisions of education, healthcare, infrastructure facilities like roads, dam, etc. So we have discussed why taxes were there. So that is the theoretical provision of that. The background, the levy, from where it has enforced it. Income tax is the most significant direct tax. Entry number 82 of the union list. Now, what is the union list that we are going to discuss in this topic, power to levy taxes? List 1 in the 7th schedule to Article 246 of the Constitution of India. So the Constitution gives power to the Parliament to make laws on taxes on income other than agricultural income. So the Parliament is having the power. We can say the central government is having the power to impose tax in India on all incomes except agricultural income. So if I have divided incomes into broad categories, suppose one is agricultural income and other incomes. Other income includes salary income, business income, all other except agricultural income. So to power to impose tax on agricultural income has been delegated to the state government by the Constitution. So Constitution says that agriculture is going to taxable or not, the state will decide. Like if you are in a state like Madhya Pradesh, so Madhya Pradesh state government will decide that whether they are going to charge income tax on agricultural income or not. Central government cannot decide. For all other income except agricultural income, the power to impose tax is with the central government. Understand? So the imposition power from the Constitution has been delegated to the state government for agricultural income, and for other income that has been transferred to the central government. The power to impose tax on agricultural income is delegated to the state governments. Income Tax Act name is 1961, but it came in force from the first day of April 1962 and applicable whole of India. Now, power to levy tax. The Constitution of India in Article 265 lays down that no tax shall be levied, collected except by the authority of law, of course. So we are having the 3 list. Union list. Parliament has the exclusive power to make laws on the matters contained in the union list. So we can say Parliament means central government. So there are certain matters on which central government will decide, or central government has power to decide, and those has been included in union list, like regarding defense, armed force, atomic energy, foreign affairs, etc. Or we can say income other than agricultural income also included under union list. State list, like legislature of any state has the exclusive power to make laws on the matters contained in the state list. Like police, public has local government, library, museum, or we can say tax on agricultural income. So if there is a MCQ, there could be MCQ which could ask who has the power to impose tax on agricultural income. So you should remember that is state government. Okay. Concurrent list is when there is power with both. There are certain matters for which the state or central, or we can say union, can both make laws. So both parliament and state legislature have the power to make laws on matters contained in the concurrent list. For example, criminal law, marriage, divorce, trust, etc. Okay, so that was the constitutional power, how tax has been imposed, from where it has been empowered to impose tax in our country. Okay, so Shivangi Singh is asking, so do we have to study Income Tax Act 2025 for January exam 2026? Shivang Singh, sorry, not Shivangi, Mr. Shivang Singh, you are late. We have already discussed in the start. I've told you students that student will come and ask these kind of questions. So that the act which has been introduced in February 2025, that is going to be applicable. So I've explained each and everything, Shivang, in the starting of this class. Kindly scroll back the video and please watch this class from the starting. You will have your answers of all these kind of questions. Okay. In short, no, that is not applicable for. That would be applicable from May 2026 examination. Now, overview of income tax law in India. So we have components of income tax law. We have Income Tax Act, we have Annual Finance Act, income tax rules, circulars, notification, and legal decisions of courts. The various instruments of law containing the law relating to income tax are explained below. Explained below, of course. The levy of income tax in India is governed by the Income Tax Act 1961. In this book, we shall briefly refer to this as Act. So it extends to all of the India. It came into force from 1st April 1962, contains 1 to 298 sections and 1 to schedule number 14. Till schedules 14 we have from 1 to 14. We have subsections, clauses or subclauses. These are general theoretical point. You can go through with yourself. Like what is the meaning of clauses? What is the meaning of subsection? It has been explained with the help of an example also. So you can go through these points. If there is any problem, you can ask me. I will solve your query. Do not worry. So because we have to cover a lot of provision, so that's the basic concept which do not have any technical provision that I will ask you to read yourself. So if there would have been any problem, I'm going to solve it for you. So section may have provisions and explanation. Now, what is a proviso? Provision spell out the cases where the provision contained in the respective section, subsection, clause would not apply, or where the provision would apply with certain modification. We can say proviso or like some special concept or some specified conditions. So if there is some section or subsection which is not completely explained, or if we need to apply any restriction on that section or subsection, so proviso will come there and it will tell you that this would be applicable with certain modification or restriction, etc. In the same way, explanation to a section or subsection clause gives a clarification relating to the provision contained in the respective section, subsection or clause. So explanation will clarify more. That provision is going to be clarified more with the help of explanation. We have example also like section 80GGB that would be discussed detail later in deduction topic. But 80GGB and GGC is for donation. So there is a provision which say if you'll pay any amount as a donation to political party, you will get the deduction. So if you are going to pay something to political party, you will get a deduction. But a proviso has been inserted that donation should not be in cash. So that is a proviso which says, yes, you can claim the deduction you can claim the benefit. For time being, let me tell you what is the meaning of deduction. It's a kind of a benefit in tax, okay? So you can claim that benefit, but the proviso say it's not that simple that if you'll pay, you will get the benefit. No, it should not be in cash. So that is the proviso work. It explained you that you can pay that donation, but there is a restriction, there is a modification that it should not be in cash. And again, in this specific section, explanation explained that what is the meaning of political party. If I establish a political party with my 5 friends, I am saying that this is my political party. Would it would be considered as political party or not? So the explanation gives the detailed concept that what should be treated as a political party. And it's a political party means those are registered under section 29A of the Representation of People Act 1951. So only that political party would be eligible to provide you the benefit of deduction. So you can see with the help of example, what is provision? Proviso is there for explaining you the restriction or modification for the purpose of that section. An explanation is going to explain you about the terms which has been used in that particular deduction. Do not worry, as we go on with the chapter or subject, you will understand what is the difference between clarification, explanation, proviso, notification, circular, etc., etc. Now, finance side, we all know that is a budget. We have just discussed the budget has been basically in 3 parts: part 1, part 2, part 3. You can go through with these provisions. Now, what the section explain you, and if section wants to explain it further, they need to provide you the rules. So we are having income tax rule 1962. Like there's a section salary head. Salary head we are going to discuss in detail later. And it says there are certain allowances which are exempted under section 1014. Now, when those allowances going to be exempted, that has been referred as per rules. There are certain rule has been prescribed. According to that rule, certain allowances could be exempted. So rules we can say that is the detail of any section which has been prescribed by the act. The administration of direct tax is looked after by the CBDT. So CBDT is the highest authority of income tax, which administrator the direct tax. The CBDT is empowered to make rules for carrying out the purpose of the act. So rules are like rules, regulation. For the proper administration of the Income Tax Act 1961, the CBDT frame rules from time to time. These rules are collectively called Income Tax Rule 1962. Now, what are circulars and notification? Circulars are issued by the CBDT from time to time to deal with certain specific problems and to clarify doubts regarding the scope and meaning of certain provision of the Act. Circulars are the issue for the guidance of the officers and assessee. Assessees are, we are assessee. So we will go through with the definition of assessee also later. The department is bound by the circulars. So the department or the officer of income tax need to follow the circulars. While such circulars are not binding on the assessee, they can take advantage of beneficial circular. Like suppose there was return filing date, income tax return filing date was 31st December 2024. Now income tax issued a circular that this date has been extended up to 15th January 2025. So now this is applicable for all. Now I am an assessee. Mr. A, suppose an assessee. Now I am not bound by this circular. The last date to file return is now 15th January 25. It does not mean that I cannot file my return before that, or I am okay, I'm not going to file my return of income. So it is not bound that you have to file your return, but the time period has been extended for the benefit of assessee. But the officer has to follow this circular. if somebody has filed return after 31st December, but before 15th January, during that time which has been prescribed under circular, then that return would be considered as filed within time. So officer cannot say that the last date was 31st December and you are filing it on 10th of January. So we will not consider it. They have to consider it because circular is bound upon the department. And because the date has been extended up to 15th of January, so they have to obey it. Now notifications are issued by the central government to give effect to the provisions of the Act. The CBDT, after this topic, we will take the queries. So notification are issued by the central government to give effect to the provision of the Act. The CBDT is also empowered to make and amend rules for the purpose of the Act by issue of notification, which are binding on both the department and assessee. So now notifications are binding on both. Assessee has to follow and as well as department needs to follow. But circulars only bound upon the department, not upon the assessee. Now, what is the notification? Suppose the notification says that the return needs to be filed on online mode. You cannot file it under manual mode now. So you have to follow it. Now the department and assessee both has to follow that this return needs to be filed under online because the notification has been issued. So notification is applicable on both, but the circulars are only applicable or bound upon the department. Clear? There was Income Tax Act, there was rule, there was circular, there's our notification, and now there are last case laws. Suppose there is some issue which has not been explained under notification or circulars, etc. So for that purpose, you can go to the court and the court will decide, and that is going to be followed. So there could be arguments, there could be cases of litigation which is not solved by the assessee or the department. So you can go to the court and those case law may provide the benefit. So case laws refer to decision given by courts. The study of case law is an important and unavoidable part of the study of income tax law. It is not possible for Parliament to conceive and provide for all possible issues that may arise in the implementation of any act. Hence, the judiciary will hear the dispute between the assessee and the department and give decision on various issues. The Supreme Court is the apex court of the country and law laid down by the Supreme Court is the law of the land. The decision given by various high courts will apply in respective state in which such high courts have jurisdiction. Case laws are dealt with at the final level. So this is a good news for you that the case laws concept needs to be discussed at final level. That is not going to be discussed at intermediate level. So before going further, now charging section आ गया अब यहाँ पर ठीक है ना charging section. Somebody was asking what is the meaning of charging section. Who asked? Srisha. So this is charging section 4 and that is the charging section of income tax. You will understand what is the meaning of charging section, and as I have explained earlier, charging section explains the characteristics of anything. So because this is the charging section of income tax, so it will explain the basic characteristics of Income Tax Act. Before that, let me see if there is any query. I have asked you students that please ask the query related to the topic what we are discussing in the initial of this class, starting of this class. I have asked you, it's a request. Please do not ask those kind of question which is not related to our topic. Okay, like why direct tax, indirect tax are different. These kind of questions are no relevance. Okay. Sir, what is the difference of tax and duty? Okay. Sir, in union list only central government can make the law. Yes. Now somebody is asking, Aditya is asking, what are the major changes in old material for September 25? Mean it's just representation and books question. I cannot answer these kind of question, Aditya. If you need to know the amendments, you can Google it, etc. Arjit sir, how many classes allotted for basics? There are 3 classes, okay? Now, Rajita is asking, sir, what is mean clause 1B of amalgamation? So, amalgamation definition has been under clause number 1B. It has been separated from the definition of partnership firms. So those clauses are separate. So, clauses are separate, they are not interconnected. But again, as I asked you to read those provision yourself, and if there is any query, so that means you can read it after the class and you can ask me those query in our next class. So you would have time to read all those questions or the part I'm asking you to go on yourself. So you can go through these theoretical part, which I'm asking you to go through yourself, and you can ask the queries from that part in the next session. Sir, please explain deeply as we are new to the syllabus. I am trying to explain each and everything because the syllabus is so huge. So we have to complete the syllabus also. Okay. Now, what is this question again, Arjit? How many classes allotted for basics? Why? Okay, Naveen is asking, sir, is circular bound to either department or assessee and notification bound for both? Yes, absolutely correct. Now, this kind of query you should ask. Like Naveen is asking absolutely correct query. That is, show the focus of yourself. Like if somebody is going to ask me, sir, how to calculate tax? So this time, how I will explain you to calculate tax. Now, what should be the pattern of understanding the lecture? Like if we discuss direct tax, the meaning of direct tax or the meaning of indirect tax. So if it is clear to you, that's it. You should not think about it that what is custom duty, what is difference between duty and taxes, because if we go through with these kind of questions, so at least 10 lecture we need for only basic concept. Okay. Now Bipin is asking, sir, please repeat notification part. Bipin, we are on YouTube. You can scroll back and you can understand the notification. If even if after that, if you have any problem, you can ask me and I'll explain it to you. Okay. Sumit is asking, sir, circular के point number 3 समझ नहीं आया. अच्छा, circular का point number 3 समझते हैं अभी. Just a second. देखो, सर्कुलर का पॉइंट नंबर 3 ये कहता है कि जो भी सर्कुलर होगा वो डिपार्टमेंट को तो मानना ही पड़ेगा. सर्कुलर में लिखा है कि जो लास्ट डेट फाइलिंग की है वो हमने 15 जनवरी कर दी है. तो अब जो डिपार्टमेंट है वो ये किसी को नहीं कह सकता कि नहीं भाई 15 जनवरी से पहले ही आपको रिटर्न फाइल करनी है. अगर सर्कुलर ने टाइम 15 जनवरी कर दिया तो डिपार्टमेंट को 15 जनवरी तक रिटर्न एक्सेप्ट करने पड़ेंगे. लेकिन आप असेसी हैं, आपके ऊपर कोई बाउंडेशन नहीं है. आप रिटर्न 15 जनवरी से पहले फाइल करें, आप ना फाइल करें, ये आपकी चॉइस है. ओके, एज यू आस्क्ड इन हिंदी, आई हैव एक्सप्लेन्ड यू इन हिंदी. Legal decision by court means the judgment made by the courts. Yes, Shri Haridas, absolutely correct. Like 15 January last date has been decided by the department and somebody was like hospitalized on 15th of January. He was not able to file the return till 15th of January. Now as per the act, so he cannot file return after 15th of January. But he can go to the court and explain to the court that I was like in that medical condition that I wanted to file my return, but I was not able to find my return. So the court may decide that yes, in this special case, he could have the benefit to file after 15th of January. So those cases, those circumstances which has not been explained clearly in the act, or there could be new situations. For that purpose, you can go to the court and you can ask for the judgment. Sir, can you give details of part 1, part 2, part 3, 4 of Finance Act, like which part related to which kind of tax incident? You can go through, of course, Google. I need to explain whatever has been discussed in the study material. So if we'll go further in that part, that would be really impossible to cover the syllabus. Okay. Mohan Moni, sir, is notification can be circular, but circular can't be notification. No, it is not right. Circular is circular, notification is notification. Okay. Chalo, moving on further. Shreya is asking, sir, are assessee officers of various department? No, assessee means we. We will discuss the definition of assessee also. That will come later in this chapter. Assessee means we are the assessee. Those pay tax, those are called assessee. So if I'm paying tax, I am called assessee. Officer would be department officer. Assessee word is going to be used for the us. Those are going to pay tax. So now, charge of income tax. So this is the charging section, section 4 of the income tax, that is called the charging section. And charging section explain the characteristics of income tax. Now it will explain you the basic characteristics of this act. And it says section 4 of the income tax 1961 is the charging section, which provides that tax shall be charged at the rates specified for the year by the Annual Finance Act or the Income Tax Act 1961. So rate would be from Finance Act. The charge is on every person. So the definition of person has been prescribed under section 231. So income tax would be leviable only upon you if you fall under the definition of person. Now, what is the meaning of person? There are eight categories that have been included under the definition of person. So if you fall under any of them, you need to pay income tax. If you are out of that, you need not to pay income tax. Now, what is the definition of person? Of course, we will discuss later in this chapter. Tax is chargeable on the total income earned during the previous year and not the assessment year. Now, what is assessment year? What is previous year? That definition also will come later. So once you will understand the meaning of previous year or assessment year, you will understand what point number 3 needs to explain. For the time being, let me tell you what is the basic meaning of previous year and assessment year. Like Mohammed Masuri is asking on query portal, so at which date you expect result in January 25? Okay. So now let me explain you what is the meaning of assessment year and previous year. Shrivali is saying, sir, we discussed that center the power to levy tax on all kinds of income except agricultural income. But in state lit, other incomes apart from agriculture income are also mentioned. Please explain. Sure. Let's see. Etc. means other issue, not this, like education, etc. It's not about tax on agricultural income and other income. Etc. means other related topic like police, public health, education also could be a part of state lits, etc. So that is not about other income. It is only agriculture income on which state can impose tax. Okay. Okay, moving forward. So let me explain you the meaning of previous year and assessment year, because this term going to be used multiple times in this subject. So now previous year, as we discussed, we are discussing Finance Act 2024 provision. So for that, previous year is your examination. For the purpose of your examination is previous year is 24-25. And when I say previous year 24-25, that means we are talking about this time duration. That is from 1st April 2024 till 31st March 2025. Now, what is assessment year? The year which is next to the previous year. The year which is next to the previous year would be called assessment year. So for the purpose of examination, your assessment year is 2025-26. And when we say it's 2025-26, that means we are talking about the time duration of from 1st April 2025 till 31st March 2026. We are talking about this duration. Now, what is the exact meaning of this terminology? That is not clear yet. We understand, okay, my previous year is 24-25, my assessment year is 25-26, but what is technically this is? So now the provision says, whatever income you will earn is this duration. Whatever income you will earn during this duration from 1st April 24 till 31st March 25. So suppose you earn 20 lakh rupees in this duration. You need not to pay tax during this duration. So if you have earned 20 lakh rupees in previous year 24-25, you need not to pay tax on this 20 lakh rupees during this time duration. So the income what you will earn in previous year, the tax is going to be paid in the next year. So that would be your taxing year, and that is called your assessment year. So whatever you have earned during this time duration, you have to pay income tax on this duration in the next year. So technically, this is your taxing year, which we call assessment year, and this is technically your earning year. So whatever income we earn between 1st April 2024 till 31st March 25, you have to pay tax on this income in the next year. That is called assessment year. In the same way, whatever you will earn, suppose in 2025-26, you earn 30 lakh rupees. So for 25-26 previous year, this 30 lakh previous year would be 25-26. Earning year would be 25-26. So when I need to pay tax on this, in which year we need to pay tax on this 30 lakh rupees? Nandini is saying 26-27, correct? Banu is saying 26-27, very nice. Shalini, Bhumika, everybody is giving the correct answer. Well done. Very, very, very well done. Very nice. Good to see this, that you are all focused during the class. So, of course, whatever you will earn during now 25-26, whether you are doing a business, whether you are doing a job, whatever it is, does not matter. Suppose I have earned salary of 20 lakh rupees during this duration. So on this salary income, I have to pay tax in next year. That is assessment year. Now I have earned 30 lakh rupees salary in this year. So the taxing year would be 26-27. That would be called assessment year. So you understood what is the previous year? The year in which we earn income. That year considered as the previous year for that particular income. And the year in which we pay tax on the last year income is called the assessment year. Clear? A simple सा question, बहुत छोटा सा, बहुत simple सा. 2024-25 would also be an assessment year. For which year income? In 24-25 we must paying tax on some year income. So 24-25 also must be assessment year of some other year. Which would be that previous year? 23-24, Harshada, Priyanka, Nisha, Praveen, Asta, Hina, Shrivalli, Makna, Cherry, Rishabh, everybody is absolutely correct. Very nice. You're all going to be chartered accountant very soon. You are so smart. Exactly. So suppose in 23-24, we have earned 11 lakh rupees as a salary. So the previous year for that 11 lakh would be 23-24 and assessment year would be 24-25. So it is a process. The year in which you earn income is called your previous year. And the next year would be called your assessment year. This would be applicable in case of white money, in which you are going to explain, you are going to pay tax yourself. There are certain cases of black money cases in which this concept of previous year assessment year would not be applicable. What would be applicable? There are provision. Then we will discuss what is the provision for black money. So these are the cases in which We earn 20 lakh rupees and we are going to pay tax on full 20 lakh rupees. We are not hiding anything. In that case, previous year for 20 lakh would be 24-25 and assessment year would be next year. Same in case of 30 lakh rupees, same in case of 11 lakh rupees. Well done. Now moving on to provision. So that is the definition of previous year and assessment year. So when the definition would become, we need not to understand it again because I've explained you that definition over here. So there are certain exceptions provided by section 172, 174, 174A, 175, 176 that is going to be discussed later. There are certain cases in which this previous year concept is not applicable. Previous year and assessment year. That will be discussed later in this chapter. So what were the basic characteristics? That is, rate would be applicable as per Finance Act. It would be charged on person. Whatever you will earn in previous year, need to pay tax in next year. Tax shall be levied in accordance with the subject to the various provision contained in the Act. Obvious. The tax procedure would be as per the Act. This section is the backbone of the law of income tax insofar as it serves the most operative provision of the Act. Clear? Now, total income and tax payable part. Now, in this stepwise provision, you will see these steps are the technical chapters, what we are going to discuss later. So these step number 1 till I guess step number 18, 19, all topics would be discussed later, not in this chapter, except 1 or 2, that is rate of taxes. Everything needs to be discussed later. So there is a summary of, you can see, this is the index of your future chapters. Like step number 1, the first part to calculate the gross total income and total income. So we have to find out anyone's gross total income and total income. Then we need to calculate the tax upon that person. So to find out the gross total income, the first step is determination of his residential status. Now, what is residential status? How it impact your tax calculation? That is going to be discussed in chapter number 2. So we will discuss it in chapter number 2. After that, step number 2 says classification of income under different heads. Under income tax, whatever incomes you earn, they have been divided into 5 categories. Either that would be a salary income. So if you are doing a job and if you are receiving any amount, that would be termed as salary. So we have a separate chapter of salary, how we need to calculate income under that particular head. Then we have business head also. Business or profession. We have separate chapter for it. Then we have income from house property. That means technically rental income from any building. Then we have capital gain. That means profit or loss on sale of asset. That needs to be dealt under capital gain chapter. And the last is income from other source. Those income which has not been included in these 4 heads going to be taxable under income from other source, like interest income, dividend income, etc. So that is going to be discussed later. Each one have a detailed chapter of having like 150 pages or 120 pages, etc. So heads of income, you can see salary, house property, business or profession, capital gain, income from other source. And I've tried to explain you to make you understand in a very short summary that what is the meaning of salary income. If Mr. A doing job in Reliance, so company payment from Reliance would be salary income in the hands of Mr. A. What is house property income? If you have a building and you're receiving rent, that would be your house property income. So we have detailed chapter of these topics, so do not bother about it. We will discuss everything in detail in the future chapters. TGBP, that is income from business and profession. So if you are running a shop, you are a manufacturer, etc., that income would be your business income. If you are a CA in practice, that would be your professional income. But if you are a CA, but you are doing a job in any company, that would be your salary income. So you can go through with these examples. That would make you clear a picture regarding the heads of income. Now, capital gain would be if you sell your asset, then anything gain or loss would be treated under capital gain. And all other income would be your income from other source like dividend, gift, lottery, interest income, etc. Now, computation of income under each head. So those 5 heads we discussed, we have seen that in short, like salary, business, house, property. So step number 3 says whatever your income, they will either would be salary or business or house property or capital gain or other source. So you have to calculate those income as per specific head. So if you are receiving salary, you have to go to salary head and you have to find out how to tax that salary income. If you are having a business, then you have to find out how to taxable that business income. So step number 3 is again for all those chapters, those we are going to discuss later. Step number 4 is deduction. For each head of income, there are specific deductions also. Like under salary head, there are certain deductions, certain benefits. So you can claim under that salary head. Under income from house property, there are certain benefit. You can claim that under income from house property and so on. Again, these are related to the different heads of income, what we are going to discuss later. Then there are clubbing provision. What are the meaning of clubbing? There's also a specific chapter regarding it. We will going to discuss it later. Set off and carry forward you have to apply. The losses could be set off from the income. How it's going to be done? You need to go to the chapter number 5. So do not worry about these chapters. These are your kind of an index what you are going through right now. And we have to discuss all those chapters one by one. Now, after applying till step number 6, whatever you will have, the total of that would be called gross total income. What we need to find it out? Gross total income. So gross total income means those 5 head salary plus business plus house property plus capital gain plus income from other source, then apply clubbing provision, then apply set off provision. After that, we will have our gross total income. Now we have deductions. There are certain deduction which is under section 80C to 80U. What are these deduction? Why are these deduction? We will discuss everything, okay? So after reducing these deduction, we will have our total income. And on this total income, tax need to be charged. So why we are finding out total income? Because we have to apply tax on total income. We cannot apply tax on salary income directly. We cannot apply tax on business income directly. Even we cannot apply tax on gross total income. No, we have to find out total income. Why we are finding total income? Because we have to apply tax. For the purpose of total income, first we have find out deductions. Then we have to find out gross total income. For finding gross total income, we have to understand salary, business, etc. So these are all interconnected. Okay. So deductions from gross total income, what are the meaning of deduction, etc. That is going to be discussed in chapter number 6. So there are certain deductions. This is just the overview for the types of deduction we need to discuss under deduction topic. Now we will arrive at total income. After reducing deductions from gross total income, we will arrive at total income. And this is the income we were finding to calculate tax. So we can say this is called total income, or you can say taxable income, or you can say it income chargeable to tax. The important thing, it should be rounded off to the nearest multiple of 10 rupees as per section 288A. However, under default tax regime under section 115 BAC, only selected deductions are permissible. Generally, if you are following section 115 BAC, that is a default tax regime, having separate rate of tax. Generally, 3 deductions are applicable only. And if you are not falling under section 115 BAC, let me tell you, you might be need to apply all these deductions. But do not worry, everything will be sorted. Now, calculation of gross total income and total income. So we have a format to make you understand what were the steps. salary, house property, business, cap gain, other source, then clubbing, set off. After that, deductions, and deductions के बाद we will find out our total income. Okay. Now, after finding out the total income, we have to apply the rates of taxes. So as I've told you in the starting of this class, we have two regimes. One is default tax regime. That is section 115 BAC, or one is optional tax regime. So what are the tax rate under these two systems? What are the surcharges, cess, etc. provision? That we will discuss in this chapter. Then what is surcharge? What is rebate? That is also a part of this chapter. What are health and education cess? That we will discuss. There's also a step number 13, which is called alternate minimum tax. This is going to be discussed under chapter number 9. So those things which are going to be discussed in future chapters, do not bother about it. Okay. Step number 14, whether to pay tax under default tax regime or optional tax regime, which is beneficial to us. That is also a chapter number 9 part. In this chapter, we do not need to find it out. Okay. Then we have step number 15 regarding the advance tax and TDS provision and TCS provision. That again going to be discussed later in another chapter. Then we'll find out our step number 16. Either we need to pay tax or the tax is going to be refunded. Then we have to file return of income. So whatever calculation you have done, after that we have to calculate we have to submit our return of income. Before that, this is important. The taxes also need to be calculated till nearest multiple of 10 rupees. So total income and tax both need to be calculated up to the nearest multiple of 10 rupees as per section 288A and 288B. This is for section 288B and this is for section 288A. Okay. Now, return of income is technically the declaration, whatever you have done in above steps. So how you calculate your income, how you calculate your tax, you have to declare this information to the income tax department. If you have heard these words like, I need to file my income tax return. So that is called filing of return of income. So as the name suggests, return of income, that means the information regarding your income, tax, etc. you need to submit to the department in a specified form, in a specific up to a specified date, as per a specified procedure. That is going to be discussed again, the return of filing chapter, that would be in a separate chapter. So now we are moving on to important definition, and before that, let me take if you have any query. Sri Haridas is saying, so can we say that income earned in the last year, that is previous year, will be charged to income tax in the upcoming or following year? That is assessment year. Yes, we can say that whatever income you have earned in the previous year need to pay tax in the next year. Correct. सर सैलरी इनकम में ए मिसिंग है. वेरी गुड सुमित, तो एक ए इंसर्ट कर लीजिए. Congratulations. Next is Abhisha. So if I generate some income from auction, then under which head will it come? So it depends what you are auction. Definitely if you are auction, you are going to auction your asset. So if you are auction your asset, that would be the part of capital gain. So if any income you earn from your asset via auction, sale, disposal, etc., that would be your capital gain income. Praveen is saying, sir, we calculate total income since income tax is progressive in nature, right, sir? No, progressive means as you earn higher income, you have to pay higher taxes. Progressive tax means that the person, those are rich in our country, they need to pay high tax. And that tax collection would be utilized for those persons, those are underprivileged, providing free ration, providing free education, free medical facility, etc. So income tax is technically progressive in nature in this way, that if you have higher income, you have to pay high tax. If you do not have any income, you do not need to pay tax. If you have lower income, you have to pay tax, low rate of taxes. Okay. Omkar is saying every year there will be a new tax rates in coming time. Then what tax rate to be given under section 115 BAC? So we need to focus on whatever tax rate we have to learn for our May attempt, September attempt, or January attempt. What will happen in future, that we will see in the future. So for right now, we have section 115 BAC, default tax regime rate and optional tax regime rate for your examination. So do not need to worry, just focus on your examination and the subject or the act which has been applicable for your examination. Whatever will happen in future, that would be not for us, of course. Sir, what does mean nearest multiple of 10 rupees? Okay, we are going to solve multiple questions, so you will understand what is the meaning of multiple of 10 rupees. Let me tell you for a time being. Suppose your total income is 10 lakh 29,708. So your total income need to be write it down like this. 710. So if this is 5 or more than 5, you have to convert it into later multiple of 10. Suppose this is 704. Then I will write it down 1029700. Clear? Same in case of tax. Sir, is the word tax defined in any act? It is not defined in the Income Tax Act. So is it defined in the any act? You can go and search the Google. Okay. Priya, sir, what theoretical part do we need to learn from exam point of view? Everything is important, whether it's theoretical or numerical or practical. I have explained in the starting of this class that we are discussing Income Tax Act. There is nothing like pure theoretical over here. Fine. So there is every theory based upon the act. So if you are able to write it down correctly, you can have the full marks in that theoretical part also. So everything is important. Theory is also based on act. So we have to read each and everything with same effort. Suraj, sir, tax, teach, new tax 25-26. Rakesh, we are asking what is exemption? So Rakesh, exemptions are those cases in which there is income, but government has exempt that income from taxability. Like agriculture income has been exempted. There are some exemptions like allowances. If you are in a salary and you are getting some allowances like conveyance allowance, so that could be exempt up to a certain level. So there are certain incomes which has been exempted by government. What are those exemption? What are those income? That definitely is going to come in future chapter. What actually is default tax regime? We will discuss it, Omkar, in this chapter only. So you understand what is the meaning of our default tax regime. I hope it's clear. Okay. So now the definition part will come. First one is assessee. Then we need to discuss these definitions. So we can do one thing now. Shilesh is asking, sir, what is the priority of section number in exam point of view? If you are able to learn those section, if you're able to write it down the correct section in the examination, that is definitely going to enhance your marks. So you have to do a lot of effort to learn those. So if you can do that, definitely that's a very good thing for your examination purpose. Proviso means certain exception or condition. Yes, you can say that, of course. So Manish, can we go for a 10 minutes break? Okay, welcome back, everyone. I believe you must have your tea, coffee, water, of course, to get your energy back. So, we were discussing the basic part. So, till now, we have discussed the introduction part of income tax, the evolution regarding your paper, also certain charging section of income tax, the topic what we are going to discuss later in this subject. So, now we are moving on to some more specific definitions, and those are important definitions. The first one is assessee, section 2(7). So, assessee means a person by whom any tax or any other sum of money is payable under this act. So, assessee means those need to pay tax on or any sum of money. So what is the meaning of any other sum of money? So if you need to pay tax on your income, you will be assessee. Suppose you need not to pay tax, but you need to pay interest, any kind of penalty, etc. Still you will be called an assessee. In addition, it includes, so this is an assessee and the following person will also treated as an assessee. Every person in respect of whom any proceeding means case. So if there is any person whose income is not liable to tax, but government has doubt that he might escaping his income, he is hiding his income, he is not declaring his actual income. So for that reason, if income tax department opened his case and start proceeding against him, again you will be called an assessee. So first point, if you need to pay tax or any other sum of money under this act, you will be an assessee. Even if you need not to pay any tax, but if department think that you are not declaring your income properly, so department start proceeding against you regarding your income clarification, then again you will be called an assessee. Whether your income is up to that amount or not does not matter, but if the case has been started against you, you will be called an assessee. The income of any other person in respect of which he is assessable. Suppose you are a representative assessee of someone. There is a non-resident who reside outside India. There is a person, non-resident, we will discuss in second chapter. For time being, suppose there is a foreigner who is residing outside India, but he is having some income from India. And for the purpose of taxability of that income, suppose he appoint you as an agent. Then for finding out his income who is residing outside India, you need to provide the information to the department. So you will be called an assessee in a representative capacity of that person. So point number 2, denote regarding those representative assessee cases. So if the department start case against your income or against any other person, but for that person you are the representative, then again you will be called an assessee. Or to find out the your losses or the losses of such other person for which you are a representative assessee, or the amount of refund you have claimed, or the amount of refund has been claimed by that person for which you are a representative assessee. Suppose Mr. B reside outside India. He appoint Mr. A as an agent for his income tax matter in India. So we are talking about Mr. A, and who is the such other person? Such other person is Mr. B. So if for the loss of Mr. B, you are accessible, then you have to give answer to the income tax department. You will be called an assessee. Every person who is deemed to be an assessee under any provision of the act. Now, if you are not a real assessee, you are not a representative assessee, but you would be treated as a deemed assessee in absence of the main assessee, like a legal heir of a deceased person. So if you are a legal heir of any deceased person or an executor then you will be called a deemed assessee. Okay. Every person who is deemed to be an assessee in default under any provision of this act. So if you have violated any provision of this act, suppose you have to submit your return of income, suppose you have to deduct TDS, suppose you have to comply with any provision of this act and you did not do so, then you will also be called an assessee in the category assessee in default. Clear? So first point was, if you need to pay tax or any other sum to the income tax department or under this act, you will be an assessee. If department open your case to find out your income, your loss, your refund, or if you are a representative assessee of some other person and department wants to ascertain that other person income or loss or refund, then you will be called an assessee because you have taken the responsibility of that person. You are an agent, etc. If you are a deemed assessee, like I've explained to you, that is a legal heir of a deceased person, etc. Or if you default or violate any provision of the act or non-compliant with any provision of the act, then also you will be treated as an assessee in default. Every assessee is a person, but every person need not to be an assessee. So if I am a person, but I does not fall in the first point, like I need not to pay any tax. Suppose my case has not been opened. Suppose I am not a deemed assessee of any other person and I am not an assessee in default. Just take upon yourself. You all might not fall in any of this category. If you are a student, if you are not earning any income, then you are outside the purview of point number 1. You need not to pay tax. Your case has not been opened yet by the department. You are not the representative assessee of anyone. You are not a deemed assessee of anyone, and you did not violate any provision of income tax yet. So you all are person. And what is the meaning of person? Person means any human being also, any individual. So you might be a person, but you are not yet assessee. I am an assessee because I need to pay tax. My income crossed the exemption value, so I have to pay tax every year. So I am an assessee and I'm a person also. But you are a person yet, but you all are not assessee. So always assessee is always going to be a person, but every person need not to be an assessee. You will be able to understand this phrase more easily once you will get to the definition of person, what we are going to discuss. Now, next definition is assessment. And it's a very beautiful definition because it says assessment detail will be discussed at final level. So it's a most interesting definition for all of you. This is the procedure by which the income of an assessee is determined. It may be by way of a normal assessment or by way of reassessment or whatever it is, that is going to be discussed at final level. Okay. So now the most important definition, in my opinion, of income tax, and that is person. Section 231 discuss about this definition, and I have told you that such charging section explain that if you are a person, then income tax is liable only upon if you are a person. So if you are not a person, that the whole income tax would not be applicable upon you. You need not to pay any tax, you need not to follow any procedure, etc. So if you are able to get outside of this definition, then you are outside the income tax act. But it's not possible technically. Why? Let me show you why. The definition of assessee leads us to the definition of person, as the former is closely connected with the latter. The term person is important from another point of view also. The charge of income tax is on every person. So when you hear this sentence, the charge of income tax is on every person. So that means if you are not a person, the income tax would not charge upon you. So that's a very simple tax planning. If somebody is going to ask you how I can avoid the whole income tax, you can say just get outside the definition of person and you will be outside the chargeability of income tax. But let me tell you, my students, that's not possible. Why? Because under person, total 8 categories has been included. Like first one is individual. Then we have HUF, Hindu undivided family. We will discuss each and everything in detail. Then we have AOP, association of person, body of individuals, partnership firm, and LLP. Then we have company, local authority, and artificial judicial person. So in the definition of individual, it will be explained that who would be individual. It says any human being. So me, you, etc. would be the part of this individual if we are human being, and if we are earning any income. For that income, we are the solo owner. We are the only owner of any income. Then we would be called individual. What is the meaning of HUF? That has been explained. AOP, we will discuss. BOI, we will discuss. I am just telling you why you cannot avoid this definition. Partnership from LLP, of course, we will discuss. Company definition as per Companies Act. Local authority has been explained. Now the AJP says any person who does not fall in the above 7 category. So AJP definition is like this. All person those have not been included from category 1 to 7 will be treated as AJP. All other persons. So AJP does not have any separate definition. It says either you would be individual, you would be HUF, AOP, BOI, etc. And AJP says if you does not include in above category, you will be called an AJP. So you can avoid the 7 definition from 1 to 7. But if you avoid 1 to 7, you will be automatically include in the definition of AJP. So either you would be a AJP or you are going to include in the above 7 definition. So you cannot avoid the definition of AJP. For example, AJP includes colleges, universities, etc. Those does not technically involve from point number 1 to point number 7. Those are included in AJP definition. So you can avoid point number 1 to 7, but if you avoid, you will be AJP. And if you fall from 1 to 7 any category, then again you automatically are person. So you cannot avoid the definition of person. Now we will discuss one by one the definition. Okay. डीम्ड एसएससी एक बार रिपीट कीजिए सर हिमांशु देखो वी आर ऑन यूट्यूब यू कैन स्क्रॉल बैक and you can ask your queries you can see that the definition of deemed assessee for the time being मैं आपको बता देता हूं अगर कोई ऐसा पर्सन है ऐसी कोई इनकम है जिसके आप एज्यूम्ड assessee हैं रियल assessee नहीं है बट क्योंकि जो मेन assessee है अब वो एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता तो फिर आपको उसका ओनर माना जाता है दैट इज कॉल्ड योर डीम्ड assessee जैसे कि अगर किसी पर्सन की डेथ हो जाती है तो उसकी जो इनकम है वो उसके लीगल एयर्स में जाती है एज पर विल बट अगर विल नहीं बनाई गई है तो उस फैमिली का जो सबसे एल्डर मेंबर है या किसी एक को इनकम टैक्स क्या मानेगा डीम्ड assessee सेम इन केस ऑफ एग्जीक्यूटर एटसेट्रा Aditya is asking, sir, anyone if file return on his income, then there is a compulsory to file return every year if our income is not exceeded given level? No, Aditya, there is no requirement to file return of income if your income does not exceed the exceeding level. But that would be the part of return of income chapter. It has been explained in detail who needs to file return of income. And if you does not fall in that category, you are not liable to file your income tax return. Sulah Nasri, sir, have you discontinued with inspirational story that part after break in most awaited? I have changed that part, Sulah. We will discuss that story after 8:30, after the completion of class. Okay. So that would be the, of course, the part, and after the class we will discuss that. Vivo V2310, sir, unmute me. Please send your queries over here in chat box, or you can send on the query portal also. Full form of AJP, we will discuss each and everything. वैसे मैंने बता दिया है. Full form of AJP is artificial judicial person. AJP includes bank? No. Bank has been registered in some Banking Regulation Act 1949, etc. So they are having some specific definition in which they have been included, whether as a company, etc. Example of deemed assessee I have explained, just deceased of any person, that would be called executor. That would be the example of deemed assessee, of course. Hemlata, can you please explain the difference between AOP and BOI? We will discuss each and everything. I am just trying to explain you all that you cannot avoid the definition of person. We will discuss what is individual, what is HUF, what is AOP, what is BOI. We will discuss each and everything. Do not worry. Naveen, ICAI comes under AJP. Okay. AJP also includes God. Just have patience. Let me discuss all these person one by one. Then your all queries automatically answered. Abhi, I was just trying to explain you that you cannot avoid the definition of person. What is AOP? What is BOI? What is AJP? Each thing would be discussed in detail. Just relax. Janvi is asking, sir, in case of company, who is the deemed assessee? In that case, company would be assessee. Deemed assessee would become when there is real assessee no more. So if there is no real assessee, then the question of deemed assessee would be arise. In case of company, the company would be the normal assessee. There would not be any deemed assessee in that case. Okay. Okay, sir. Miss Priya Dhiman is asking, sir, can you please send the link of WhatsApp? What is WhatsApp? Okay. So one by one, we will discuss the definition of person. Now, individual comes first. The term individual means only a natural person, a human being. Very simple. So a human being would be an individual, includes both male and females. It also includes a minor or a person of unsound mind, but the assessment in such a case may be made on the guardian or manager or minor or lunatic who is entitled to receive his income. In the case of deceased person, assessment would be made on the legal representative. So individual means very simple. If there is a human being, that could be an individual if he is the only owner of that income. That is very important. Let me tell you with the help of an example in detail. So individual means any human being. Now, for example, suppose Mr. A, he is doing job in a company and getting a salary of 10 lakh rupees. Now tell me, who is the owner of this salary? Who is the legal owner of this salary? He takes that salary to home and his whole salary is going to be confiscated by his wife, as usual. So suppose he takes the salary to the home and his 100% salary has been confiscated by his wife every month. But if I'll ask you, who is the legal owner of that salary income? Even if Mr. A needs to ask from his wife for the pocket money and she gives the pocket money to Mr. A. But if I'll ask you, who is the legal owner of this 10 lakh rupees salary? So what would be the answer? Is Mr. A or Mrs. A? Abhisha is saying Mr. A, Mr. A. Okay, Rishabh, correct. Kunal is saying Mr. A, well done. Rajveer is also saying Mr. A, well done. Of course, Mr. A is the legal owner of that salary. And is he the single owner of that salary or he needs to share this salary with anyone legally? No, he does not require to share this salary with anyone legally. It does not matter that after receiving that income, somebody confiscated it or not, does not matter. Or he transfer voluntarily that amount to someone else. But who is the legal owner and the single owner of that salary? The Mr. A is the single and legal owner of that income. So if you are a single owner of any income, Mr. A would be called an income tax individual. Clear? So if there is an income and if you are the single legal owner of that income, that would be case of individual. You will be called an individual. Suppose there is Mr. B who is doing a business and earn a net profit of suppose 15 lakh rupees. And he is doing this business as a proprietor. We all know the meaning of proprietor. Clear? So now who is the real and single owner of that money? That would be Mr. B, of course. Nagartha, Nandini, Bora, correct. So he is the legal and single owner of that income. So again, who would be called? Mr. B would be fall in the category of individual. He needs to pay tax as an individual category because he is the legal and single owner of that money. Now suppose I change this question. Mr. B includes Mr. C also, and they both form a partnership firm. And they decided to divide this profit 1% to Mr. B and 99% to Mr. C. Now, if we'll ask you a question that is 15 lakh owner is a single person or it's more than one person? Of course, now 15 lakh owner is not a single person, it's more than one. So now we cannot say it is an income of individual. Now it would be income of a partnership firm because there is a ownership distribution. So if you are a single and legal owner of any income, you will always be categorized as individual. And if that income has more than one owner, that could be a partnership firm, that could be a company, that could be a LLP, that could be a AOP, BOI, etc. So individual definition is very straight and it's very crystal clear. If you are a single and legal owner of any income, you will be treated as individual under Income Tax Act. Is it clear to everyone? It's very simple. But जैसे ही owner एक से ज्यादा होंगे, if there's more than one ownership, so what it would be? It could be a partnership firm. If it is registered as partnership firm, that would be called a partnership. If it is registered as a company, that would be a company, etc. Okay. क्वेश्चन किसी बच्चे ने पूछा है, does an individual running a college which is classified as an AJP need to file separate income? If an individual is running a college, that would be an individual income. That cannot be treated as AJP. College would be treated as AJP if there is more than one person. So until otherwise there is a single person who is running everything, technically that income would be considered as individual, no AJP. Okay. Who was asking? Shri Haridas. Okay. Okay, moving forward, that was definition of individual. Now moving on to the second definition, and that is the best definition under the definition of person, and that is Hindu undivided family, HUF. Now there's a very interesting thing, and that is HUF has not been defined under Income Tax Act. What is the meaning of Hindu undivided family? It has not been defined under Income Tax Act separately. So this definition has been taken from the definition of JHF. JHF means Joint Hindu Family. Again, very interesting thing. Joint Hindu Family definition not explained under Income Tax Act. So this definition we took from Hindu law. Hindu laws, which is based on Vedas. We have 4 Vedas. Do you know the name? Rig Ved, Yajurved, Samved, and Atharved. Okay? So in that Vedas has been defined the meaning of joint Hindu family. So from the Vedas, the Hindu law has been defined, and from that Hindu law, the definition of joint Hindu family has been explained. And the HUF take the definition from joint Hindu family definition, and what it generally say, it says any family in which male and female reside together linearly descendants from a common ancestor property. So this is the definition of joint Hindu family, or we can say Hindu undivided family, which has been extract from Hindu law, which is based on Vedas. And it's a ऐसी Hindu family. There's a Hindu family in which all linearly descendant from a common ancestor property reside together. So all that those male female if reside together from a common ancestor property, that would be called a JHF or HUF. There's a difference between HUF and JHF that we will discuss. So technically, what is the meaning of JHF we are discussing earlier? The joint Hindu family means when male female reside together, those are linearly meaning one line, like from grandparents, then parents, then unke children's, then unke children, etc. So those are in a linear descendant after one and another. And only those would be considered, those ancestors are common. For example, like Mr. A, Mrs. A. Fine. Children, son, daughter. Son, children, suppose S1 and D1. Now daughter get married. And now this daughter is also a son named S2 and one D2. So now you can see if this is a joint Hindu family. So Mr. A, Mrs. A would be the part of this family. This son and daughter, the ancestor of this son and daughters are common. So they are also form part of this joint Hindu family. S1 and D1, son 1 and daughter 1 of this son, his grandparents and her grandparents also having common ancestor. But you can see the daughter's children, S2 and D2, their grandparents are different. Of course, the daughter has married to someone, suppose Mr. C. So the grandparents of S2 and D2 is different. They are not Mr. A or Mrs. A. So they cannot be the part of this joint Hindu family. They would be the part of the other joint Hindu family, which is connected to their father. So this son and daughter and the son's daughter and son, they would be the form part of this joint Hindu family, but daughter's children cannot be the part of this joint Hindu family because they are having different common ancestor, not the same common ancestor. Understood? So this is the definition of joint Hindu family. Now, what is the concept as a person? So under income tax, joint Hindu family does not tax. The joint Hindu family definition has been converted into Hindu undivided family. In the definition of person, joint Hindu family is not included. Hindu undivided family has been included. Now there is a very minor difference, or we can say very important difference under a joint Hindu family and a Hindu undivided family. Let me tell you what is the main difference. Suppose there is a joint Hindu family and there is 4 brothers, A, B, C, and D. They all reside in the same house, but they are doing separate business or job. D is doing a separate business. He resides with his family in the same house, but he's doing a separate business. So if he's doing a separate business and earning income, that is going to be taxable as an individual because he is the legal and single owner of that income. Clear? Suppose Mr. C, he is doing job somewhere. So he is receiving salary. Again, that is going to be treated as an individual. B is not doing anything. He's free. He's sleeping all the time. A is also doing a business. And A is doing this business. So that is again fall in the category of individual. So now this would be only called a joint Hindu family that would not be considered as an HUF under Income Tax Act because they are earning their income separately. So that would be individual. D is an individual, C is an individual, A is an individual. They are a joint Hindu family, but that is not included in the definition of person because for the purpose of definition HUF, you have to create a HUF first. Now, how HUF will work? Now, suppose they all four decided to run a business. They all have decided, let's run one business, one more business together. A, B, and C and D decided to run a business together. Now they decided, they have option. Suppose they have decided to run a business as a partnership firm. They have registered themselves as a partnership firm. Then again, this income will be called the income of a partnership firm, not HUF, because they did not create an HUF. So this family would be called a joint Hindu family, and income of this firm would be taxable as partnership firm in the definition of person. But suppose if they form a HUF, they made a HUF deed and they decided to run this business as a Hindu undivided family. So if this has been done, then this JHF will convert whatever income this business will earn, that is going to be taxable as a Hindu undivided family. Then this person would generate income under Hindu undivided family. So suppose this business earning is 10 lakh rupees. Then for this 10 lakh rupees, the definition of person would be Hindu undivided family would be applicable. And according to that, they need to pay tax on this amount of income. So now you understand what is the difference between a joint Hindu family and a Hindu undivided family? The difference is clear. If they reside together only and earn income separately, that is only called joint Hindu family, which does not include in the definition of person. But if they come together and start a business under the name of an HUF and registered that as an HUF, then that income would be treated and taxable as a Hindu undivided family. Let me clear you one thing. There is no mandatory that A, B, C, and D four must come together. Even A or C can start a business and they can create an HUF. Even ABC can start a business and they can create an HUF. There is no obligation that all four need to be there. At least two needs to be there and need to register themselves as an HUF. So now you understand how an HUF can be created. Clear? Okay. Now moving on to the technical part from the notes, I have explained you in a vision that what is the difference between a JHF and an HUF. Vishnu Vardhan is saying, sir, in partnership, share of profit is non-taxable since it is already taxed, right? Yes, Vishnu, it's a part of your PGBP head. So definitely that is already has been taxed. So that is not going to be taxed again. Okay, but that's not the part of our basic concept. Next is income earned by HUF will also income of his member. The share of that income is also non-taxable, but that is going to be the part of his income, non-taxable income. But HUF need to pay tax itself on that income. Father, mother, children, wife, HUF, father and mother and children and wife, HUE. But can daughter after marriage? We will discuss what is the meaning of HUF in detail. I was just trying to explain the difference between JHF and HUF. So what is the status? Sir, what if S1, D1 and S2 and D2 stay in the same house, Vishnu? It does not matter even if S2 and D2 reside in the same house. If the ancestors are not common, the staying is not a condition to make you a part of that HUF or JHF. So if common ancestor is not exist, then they cannot be the part of that JHF or HUF. Only male would be considered as JHF or HUF. We will discuss it right now. Just have patience. I did not complete the definition or the topic of HUF yet. Once I will complete the topic of HUF or JHF, your 99% query would be automatically solved. So when we are discussing JHF or HUF, you have to be patient. Just patient till I complete the HUF topic. Just like that individual we have covered. So now you would not have any query regarding individual because I have completed that topic. Let me complete this HUF and JHF topic. I believe there would not be any query left. I was in teaching since 2004. From 2004 till 2020, I was taking face-to-face classes. Okay. And from 2021, after COVID, I have joined this BOS as a faculty. So from last, because 16 year I have been in face-to-face, so I know what queries could raise in your brain. So if you will have patience a little bit till the completion of that topic, that would be really easy for you also. You would not be able to ask any queries. Let me assure you, if you will able to have patience till the time the topic is running. So after completion of that particular topic, like if you have any question regarding HUF, just wait till I say that, okay, HUF has been done. Now we are moving on to other definition. That will be really easy for you also. Okay. So just believe me, I will cover each and everything. Shilesh, sir, you have to register HUF legally. There's a HUF deed which you have to make and you have to issue a PAN card. Then that would be regarded as registered HUF. Representative assessee and deemed assessee is same. No, they are not same. Representative assessee is when you appoint someone to be your representative assessee. And deemed assessee is a condition when there is no actual assessee due to death, etc., or actual assessee cannot submit their return. Then that would be the case of deemed assessee. Okay, male, female member questions I will take later. Let me complete this HUF part. Then your question would be automatically almost going to be solved. Just wait, okay? So JHF means when they reside together but do not earn any income as an HUF. So that would be only JHF. Once you registered yourself as an HUF and start earning some income cumulatively, then that JHF will be converted into HUF under the definition of person. Now we will read the concept of HUF. Just relax. Under the Income Tax Act 1961, a Hindu undivided family is treated as a separate entity for the purpose of assessment. So when it will happen, when you have a JHF and you will register or start earning some income with your family members and registered it as an HUF, then the HUF concept begin under income tax. Otherwise, if it is not happening, then there is no concept of HUF even arise under the Income Tax Act. It is included in the definition of the term person under section 231, the levy of income tax on every person. Therefore, income tax is payable by HUF. And when it will happen? When you start doing business with your family members, and if you are going to register it as an HUF, then this definition will cover that income under the head of HUF. Now you can see Hindu undivided family has not been defined under the Income Tax Act. The expression is, however, defined under the Hindu law as a family, which consists of all male lineally descended. You can see all males, but it will include females later, from a common ancestor and includes their wives and daughters. So you can see wives and daughters has been included. So technically, you can say all male and female. Some members of the HUF are co-partner and some will remain the member only. So generally, those will covered under joint Hindu family will be members, but there would be a special privilege if you are a co-partner. Now, what is the meaning of co-partner? So if you have taken birth in that family, you will be called a member and a co-partner. So if you are the part of the family only, but you have not taken the birth in that family, then you will be only considered as a member. So co-partner having some privilege, co-partner can ask for the partition also. Now this is very interesting. Okay, so under HUF, there's a very interesting concept, joint Hindu family or HUF. all the male will be the co-partner. So co-partner comes by birth. So all the male member would be the co-partner in their JHF or HUF. Lifetime. Clear? For the purpose of female, there is very interesting position. Up to marriage, or we can say before marriage. Before marriage, the females, we are talking about daughters. Daughters would be the part of co-partner of their father, JHF or HUF. They would be member plus co-partner. So there is no difference till now. But after marriage, there would be a very interesting situation, and this benefit is only for females. After marriage, female would remain. They would be remain even they are not residing in the same house. They have shifted to another house, but still that is a very interesting privilege has been given to female. And that says that even after marriage, female will continue or remain to be co-partner in father JHF or HUF. And they would be member also in in her husband or father-in-law, whatever it is, their JHF or HUF. So male, even before marriage or after marriage, having only one status, that would be the co-partner in his father JHF or HUF. Even after marriage, he cannot be the member of his father-in-law JHF, HUF. No, male is only one co-partnership plus membership only in his father JHF or HUF from the birth till the death. But female is having dual benefit after marriage. Till marriage, they are having same benefit as the male. But after marriage, a female would remain to be the co-partner in her father JHF or HUF till death, of course, and she'll also become the member in her husband JHF and HUF. Now, what is the difference between a member and being a co-partner? So, a member will be the part of that JHF HUF, but they cannot demand the partition. They will get the partition value if there is partition take place, but they cannot ask or they cannot demand the partition in the property. Co-partner is having the right, they can demand partition. So technically we can say that after marriage, even after marriage, a female can ask for partition from her father, JHF or HUF, but she cannot demand partition in her husband HUF or JHF. She has to wait. If in her husband JHF or HUF partition take place, any co-partner demand partition and partition take place, then she will get their share. But she cannot insist for the partition. So that is the difference between co-partner and member. So now you can see the benefit is with female because they could have the dual benefit after marriage. Okay. Now for the purpose of creating a HUF, if you want to do a business, you need a co-partner at least and plus one co-partner or members. So for at least two people required to create a HUF, one of them must be a co-partner. The other could be a co-partner or a member. But two members cannot create an HUF. Like in your family, your mother and grandmother will be called member of your joint Hindu family or HUF. Your sister would be a co-partner. You are a co-partner, your father is a co-partner, your sister is a co-partner, your brother is a co-partner, your uncle is a co-partner, your grandfather is a co-partner, but your grandmother, your mother, etc., they are not the co-partner. They are just the member. But to create an HUF, to register an HUF, we at least need one co-partner. So your mother and grandmother cannot create an HUF, but your sister and your mother can create an HUF. So this is going to be discussed detail in notes. You can see that. Neeraj asking, sir, is HUF assured with Hinduism only or only purpose of tax? Even a Muslim can create HUF. No, Muslim cannot create HUF. Only Hindus can create HUF. The concept of Hindu undivided family is only in India. So only Hindu families is having this opportunity to create an HUF. Anoop is asking, A and B are brothers. C is the daughter of their sister. Can A, B form HUF? Can A, B, C form? No, C cannot be the part of their HUF or JHF because she does not have the common ancestor. Okay. If they want to do any business, they cannot create HUF. They can create a partnership firm, etc. Abhishek is asking, when will the son daughter be a co-partner? So if you are a co-partner, let me tell you a very interesting thing today. So if you are a co-partner, you all are the co-partner in your property, that means you can demand partition anytime. There is no requirement to be 18 years or more. So even if a 10 or 12 years son or daughter wants to take a partition, then they can demand a partition and that could be done by the court, etc. Don't do this. This is just for knowledge. Okay. Karta is also, of course, co-partner. Adopted child could be the member of the HUF. They cannot be the co-partner because they did not take the actual birth in the property in that family. After marriage, female will remain co-partner but not member in father HUF. Of course, co-partner is automatically member. Even after marriage, female will remain the co-partner and member both in their father HUF or JHF. But in their husband or father-in-law JHF, HUF, they will only remain members. So if anyone is co-partner, that is automatically member. Member is my small power. So if you are a co-partner, that means automatically you are co-partner as well as member. So all co-partner are member, but all member does not need to be co-partner. Okay. So now discuss the provision with the help of notes. Okay. So some member of the HUF are called co-partner. They are related to each other and to the head of the family. HUF may contain many members, but members within 4-degree generation, including the head of the family, are called co-partner. A Hindu co-partner includes those persons who acquire an interest in joint family proprietary by birth. So co-partner can be only those persons, those has been taken birth in that family. Earlier, only male descendant were considered as co-partner. Earlier, that means before 2005. With effect from 6 September 2005, daughters have also accorded co-partnery status. So we are discussing the new provision. The diagram I have shared with you was as per the new provision on or after 6 September 2005. So what was before that, that does not matter. Okay. A daughter of co-partner by birth shall become a co-partner in her own right in the same manner as the son. Being a co-partner, she can claim partition because now females are co-partner. They will remain co-partner even after marriage. So they can ask for partition anytime of the family. The right of a daughter in co-partner property are equal to that of a son. However, other female member of the family, for example, wife or daughter-in-law of a co-partner, are not eligible for such co-partnery right because they are only the member in our family. The relation of HUF does not arise from a contract but arise from the status. Of course, you can go through with that. A very interesting thing, Jain undivided family and Sikh undivided family would also be assessed as HUF. So Jain and Sikh is a separate religion. Technically, they are not Hindu. Jain is a separate religion. And of course, Sikh is also a separate religion. But for the purpose of income tax, there is a good news. If you belong to a Jain family, you can have this benefit of partition. For the purpose of income tax, Jain families and Sikh family will be treated as equivalent to Hindu. And if you are a part of that family, of course, you can go for a partition, but there is a twist in this. We have two types of Hindu families. One is Dayabhaga Hindu family and one is mitakshara Hindu family. So if you belong to the mitakshara Hindu family, then you can ask partition even before the age of 18. Anytime by birth, you can ask for the partition if you belong to the mitakshara Hindu family. But if you belong to the Dayabhaga Hindu family, do not think about the partition. Do not ask about the partition. Partition तो नहीं, पिटाई जरूर हो जाएगी. So it's very important to find it out whether you are a part of Mitakshara Hindu family or Dayabhaga Hindu family. Now the question must be running into your mind right now is sir हम किस family से? Whether we are Mitakshara, whether we are Dayabhaga. Mitakshara है, definitely you can ask for partition anytime. And if you belong to Dayabhaga, then you cannot demand the partition. So you must be thinking how to find it out, whether you are a mitakshara or whether you are a dayabhaga. That must be running into your mind. यही चल रहा है दिमाग में. देखो यही क्वेश्चन होंगे. ओके. Sir, if I and spouse start a HUF with my siblings, I and spouse are co-partner. Your spouse cannot be the co-partner. Let me tell you, I told you. Your spouse does not take birth in your family. She has come to your life after marriage. So if somebody is coming into your life after marriage, then she cannot be the co-partner. Your sibling would be the co-partner and your spouse would only remain the member. सर आई एम फ्रॉम मिताक्षरा बट सर मैं भी पार्टीशन की बात करूंगी तो पिटाई होगी. बिल्कुल मत करना, वेरी बैड. पढ़ाई करो, सीए बनो. ओके. हाँ. ओके. सो हाउ टू कैलकुलेट टैक्स of Muslim family? Either they would be individual or they would be partnership firm, etc. They cannot be the HUF. So it depends in which category they have fall. According to that, rate of tax would be find out. Sir, if wife is eldest member in family, can she be the karta? No. If all are minor other than wife, then she could be a karta on behalf of any other person. But if there is any co-partner which is major more than 18 years, then he or she would be the karta, even if wife is there and eldest. No co-partneree legally cannot transfer their right. It is by birth, it cannot be transferred. Means only blood relation is co-partner. Absolutely correct. Co-partner is wide term and member is narrow. No, member is wide term and co-partner is narrow. Can proprietorship firm convert into HUF? No. Okay. So what we were about to discuss. Okay. The concept that whether we fall under Mitakshara Hindu family or Dayabhaga Hindu family. Let me explain you how we need to find it out. So there are two kinds of schools or family. One is Dayabhaga. Dayabhaga joint Hindu families and Mitakshara. So Dayabhaga is applicable in Assam and West Bengal. So if you belongs to Assam and West Bengal, so you are in Dayabhaga Hindu families. And for belongs to any other place in India, then Mitakshara Hindu family concept would be applicable. Okay. Now how it works, let me tell you with the help of an example. Suppose, already it's 8:35, give me 5 minutes, I will complete this and then we will move on to our story part. Okay. So suppose Under Dayabhaga, suppose there is Mr. A, and suppose he does not have any sibling, no brother, no sister, he's alone, and he's earning some income. So what it will be, this income is going to be taxable under the head individual because he is the single owner of that income. Clear? Now suppose what happened, he got married. Now Mr. A, and now he is married, Mrs. A also. Under Dayabhaga, you cannot create HUF with your wife. At least 2 co-partners are required. So on marriage, they cannot create HUF. Suppose S1, S2, and D1 take birth in this family. So now you can see 4 co-partner is there. Mr. A, S1, S2, D1. There are 4 co-partner, but there is a problem. Dayabhaga says that under Dayabhaga, you can only create an HUF or you can claim partition on the death, or you can say after death of father. So D for Dayabhaga, D for death. Only after the death of the head of the family member, which should be a co-partner. After that, the remaining can create or demand partition. So until Mr. A is alive, they cannot create any HUF or S1, S2, D1 cannot claim for any partition. They have to wait till the death of Mr. A. Suppose Mr. A has been passed away. Now they 4 can create even an HUF. It's they want, they can create a business, they can start an HUF, or if they want, any one of them can ask for partition except Mrs. A. Mrs. A cannot ask for partition because she is not a co-partner. So on the death of Mr. A, an HUF can be created or a partition can take place by S1, S2 or D1. If the partition take place, they will get equal share, each one of 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. So this is the concept of death which is applicable in Dayabhaga Hindu. Suppose the same example in mitakshara. Mr. A is alone, he is earning some income that is going to be taxable as individual. Clear? He got married. Under mitakshara, we have seen that only one co-partner is required. Other could be a co-partner, other could be a member, does not matter. So now they can create a HUF. But Mrs. A cannot ask for partition. Mr. A can go for partition, but HUF can be created. Even there is Mrs. A has been included or came to this family. Now suppose same case S1, S2, D1, they take birth. Automatically under mitakshara, by automatically they are treated as the part of this HUF. They can demand partition anytime except Mrs. A. Any one of them can demand for partition because mitakshara based on birth concept and Dayabhaga based on death concept. So now you can see, if I'll ask you the difference between Dayabhaga and mitakshara, so we can find out that under Dayabhaga, this is applicable only in Assam, West Bengal, this is applicable other part of India. Under Dayabhaga, death is mandatory. Until the death of father, they cannot create an HUF, they cannot demand partition. Under mitakshara, they become automatically the member of that HUF and they can demand the partition. Clear? That was the basic difference between Dayabhaga and mitakshara. We have the specific provision also for that. So these are the school of Hindu law: Dayabhaga, mitakshara, West Bengal, Assam, rest of India. Difference also has been explained over here that I have already explained to you. Now the company, now you have some homework for yourself. You have to read the definition of company, very basic definition. You can go through the meaning of company. There is no technicality like HUF, etc. need to explain. It's a general definition. You can go through it. If there is any problem, you can ask me before the next session. I will explain it to you. We will also solve MCQ before the next session. Foreign company meaning, domestic company meaning, a company which is public interested. This is basic theoretical definition. You have to go through with it. So up to the company provision, you have to revise. From partnership firm definition, I will take it. What is the meaning of partnership firm? AOP, BOI, that's we are going to discuss, local authority, etc. Okay. Let me see if there is any queries. Okay. What if the person wants to start with wife and children? So I guess who was Sandhya we have discussed now. So I guess your query must be solved now. To be Karta, it is compulsory to be a co-partner? Yes. Diksha, a story? Yes, after that story would be there. Just wait for the study part complete. What happened if the property was already split before 2005? So daughters still seek for no. If the partition has been taken or has been done before 2005, these provision will not be applicable. Sir, how I identify the Jain undivided family and Sikh undivided family? Identify? What does that mean? Their name would be somebody Jain and there would be some, they must be belong to some religion, of course. How we need to define? They will tell us. So if the father is no more and there is no HUF and now the children wants to start HUF but they are married, so can girls also start HUF? Girls can also start HUF but they need to take one more member. But husband cannot be the member of their property, so they need to ask their sibling to start a new HUF, and of course in that case there could be a new HUF. What kind of benefits can get such a member? You will take the benefit of the partition only. Vishnu, I have already uploaded this PDF. So you can go through on the portal or BOS. You will get all this PDF that is already shared by me. You will get it, of course. So now the story time. It's story हमारी हिंदी में होगी of course. And story आज वाली जो story है वो एक real incident है और ये हमेशा अपनी फर्स्ट क्लास में बच्चों को बताता हूँ. मे भी हो सकता है आप में से किसी ने सुना भी हो, बट ये बड़ी ही जरूरी है फर्स्ट लेक्चर के लिए, तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट यही है और ये रियलिटी है, एक रियल चीज है. एंड दिस इज ऑल अबाउट एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन. वी ऑल नो दैट एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन वाज द ग्रेटेस्ट साइंटिस्ट ऑफ ऑल टाइम. एंड ये रियल है. एक बार ही ऐसा हुआ, मैं सुना भी क्यों ना, उसका भी रीजन है, बिकॉज अभी बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग चीज होगी. आज हमने जो भी डिस्कस किया, लाइक द मीनिंग ऑफ प्रीवियस ईयर, असेसमेंट ईयर, द डेफिनेशन ऑफ पर्सन लाइक इंडिविजुअल, HUF, ये आप में से काफी लोगों को काफी कुछ समझ आया, आई बिलीव. अगर आप उसे रिवाइज करोगे एक बारी तो आई गेस काफी क्लियर हो जाएगा. बट बेसिक बेसिक सबको समझ आया कि व्हाट इज प्रीवियस ईयर, व्हाट इज असेसमेंट ईयर. इसमें कोई बहुत डिफिकल्ट नहीं लगा होगा. सो व्हाट हैपेंड, एक बारी एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन थे, उनके जो अकाउंटेंट थे, उन्होंने उससे एक बात पूछी कि आपको सबसे डिफिकल्ट सब्जेक्ट क्या लगता है. तो उन्होंने कहा कि मेरे को सबसे डिफिकल्ट सब्जेक्ट लगता है इनकम टैक्स. ये रियलिटी है. उनकी वाइफ भी वहां पर थी और उनकी वाइफ ने भी उनको देखा. एंड व्हाट ही सेड कि इनकम टैक्स दुनिया का सबसे डिफिकल्ट सब्जेक्ट है, मुझे वो बिल्कुल समझ नहीं है. अब नाउ बड़ी इंटरेस्टिंग बात है कि एल्बर्ट आइंस्टीन को जो समझ नहीं आया वो हमें और आपको समझ आया. आज आपने पढ़ा असेसमेंट ईयर, प्रीवियस ईयर, असेसी, पर्सन की डेफिनेशन एक्सेट्रा. एंड हुआ क्या कि वो आपको समझ आया. दैट मीन्स कि हम एल्बर्ट आइंस्टाइन से भी ज्यादा होशियार है. मैं तो पढ़ा रहा हूं तो दैट मीन्स मैं तो फिर उनसे बहुत ज्यादा होशियार हूं. नो, नॉट पॉसिबल, हो ही नहीं सकता. प्रॉब्लम क्या थी या प्रॉब्लम क्या है? प्रॉब्लम यह है इंटरेस्ट की. एल्बर्ट आइंस्टीन को इनकम टैक्स में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. उन्हें पसंद आता था साइंस, इन्वेंशंस. वो उनका इंटरेस्ट क्राइटेरिया. बट हम लोगों का इंटरेस्ट, मेरा इंटरेस्ट किसमें है? इनकम टैक्स में. तो मुझे वो इजी लगता है. तो जिन चीजों में हमारा इंटरेस्ट होता है वो हमें इजी लगती हैं. आई कैन प्रूव दिस. लाइक आप लोग 12th तक थे, इवन फाउंडेशन आपने क्लियर किया है, तो हम जब भी पढ़ाई करते होंगे आप 12th तक, कोई ना कोई सब्जेक्ट ऐसा होगा जो आपको डिफिकल्ट लगता हो. और वो कौन सा होगा पता है? जिसमें आपको इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं था. किसी को मैथ्स डिफिकल्ट लगता होगा, किसी को लिटरेचर हो सकता है, किसी को साइंस, फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री, एनीथिंग. बट वो अकाउंट्स भी हो सकता है, लॉ भी हो सकता है, वो टैक्स भी हो सकता है, और आपको वो तभी डिफिकल्ट लगेगा व्हेन यू डू नॉट हैव एनी इंटरेस्ट इन दैट. और जिस सब्जेक्ट में आप सबसे अच्छे थे, पता है वो कौन सा है? जिसमें आपको इंटरेस्ट था, जिसको पढ़ के आपको मजा आ रहा था। जैसे आपसे कहा जाए कि चलो डांस करते हैं, तो जिनको डांस आता है उनके लिए डांस बहुत इजी है। वो कहते हैं कितना सिंपल काम होता है डांस करना, इट्स सो इजी, कितने आराम से कर सकते हैं। बट जिन लोगों को डांस में कोई इंटरेस्ट नहीं है, उनको पूछिए, दे विल से दिस इज द मोस्ट डिफिकल्ट वर्क इन दिस वर्ल्ड। कई सारे एक्टर हैं जिनको डांस नहीं आता, उनको पूछिए, आप पुराने जमाने के एक्टर हैं धर्मेंद्र, वो कहते हैं डांस से डिफिकल्ट कुछ नहीं, कुछ भी करा लो, बिकॉज दे डू नॉट हैव एनी इंटरेस्ट इन इट। सो अंटिल अदरवाइज यू हैव इंटरेस्ट, लाइक आपके पेरेंट्स आपको बोले कि लेट्स गो फॉर शॉपिंग, लेट्स गो फॉर अ मूवी, लेट्स गो फॉर डिस्को, लेट्स गो फॉर डिनर, तो आप फटाफट से तैयार हो जाएंगे। इवन यू आर वेरी टायर्ड, आप कितना भी पढ़कर आए हो, बट अगर आपके मन की कोई चीज आपको पेरेंट्स बोले कि ये करना है, या दोस्तों के साथ जाना है, या पार्टी करनी है, तो हमें बिल्कुल भी परेशानी नहीं होती, बिकॉज यू हैव इंटरेस्ट इन दैट। और आपको बोला जाए चलो सत्संग में चलना है, चलो मंदिर चलना है, दैट वुड बी रियली डिफिकल्ट टू सिटिंग ओवर देयर फॉर 10 मिनट्स। वो भी आपको ऐसा लगेगा ओ माय गॉड ये फिनिश क्यों नहीं हो रहा, एंड इट्स ऑल अबाउट इंटरेस्ट। सो एल्बर्ट आइंस्टीन को इंटरेस्ट नहीं था इनकम टैक्स, इसीलिए समझ नहीं आता। और हमें आपको इंटरेस्ट होना चाहिए। सो फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, टू अंडरस्टैंड एनी सब्जेक्ट, यू हैव टू फॉल इन लव सब्जेक्ट के साथ। ओके, you have to understand this is important for your future. As I have told you in the starting of the class, thought for the day, this is your future, you have to create it, then you can predict it. We have to do, पढ़ाई करनी है हमें। अगर आप फोकस से पढ़ेंगे, और वो इंटरेस्ट कैसे क्रिएट होगा, अभी ये प्रॉब्लम कि सर इंटरेस्ट ही क्रिएट नहीं हो रहा, ये भी तो इश्यू होगा ना। तो वो इंटरेस्ट कैसे क्रिएट होगा ना, वो भी आई विल टेल यू। एंड द डे यू विल क्रिएट इंटरेस्ट इन एनी सब्जेक्ट, आई कैन एश्योर यू वो आपको डिफिकल्ट लगना बंद हो जाए। और इंटरेस्ट कैसे जनरेट होगा ना इस सब्जेक्ट में, आई विल हेल्प यू कैसे जनरेट होगा। मेरे को बहुत इंटरेस्ट था इनकम टैक्स में, अभी भी है, तो इसीलिए मुझे वो कभी डिफिकल्ट नहीं लगता। मुझे वो जितना कॉम्प्लिकेट होता जाता है इनकम टैक्स, आफ्टर एवरी ईयर देयर आर अमेंडमेंट्स, एवरी ईयर इट इज गेटिंग मोर कॉम्प्लिकेटेड, बट मुझे वो और इंटरेस्टिंग लगना शुरू हो जाता है, मुझे वो और अच्छा लगता है, बिकॉज मुझे पसंद है। सो यू हैव टू क्रिएट इंटरेस्ट इन योर स्टडीज, और वो भी बड़ा इजी है, दैट कुड बी डन। मैं आपको बताऊंगा हाउ यू कैन क्रिएट इंटरेस्ट इन योर स्टडी। एंड ऑफ कोर्स अगर आप फोकस से पढ़ते रहेंगे तो डेफिनेटली यू विल बी अ सीए लेटर और सूनर। सो नाउ नेक्स्ट क्लास इज डे आफ्टर टुमारो। प्लीज रिवाइज whatever we have discussed today, please revise it once, and let me tell you, CA is not difficult. I always say plan. If you plan it accordingly, you are going to get whatever you want. एंड उसके लिए स्मार्ट स्टडी करनी होती है। स्मार्ट स्टडी करो, सब कुछ पढ़ो, कुछ मत छोड़ो, सिलेक्टेड मत करो, बट पढ़ने का एक पैटर्न है, यू हैव टू मेक दैट पैटर्न। एंड इफ यू विल फॉलो दैट, लेट मी टेल यू, आई वाज अ वेरी एवरेज स्टूडेंट ऑफ माय स्टूडेंट लाइफ टिल 11th और 12th। और उसके बाद व्हेन आई जॉइंड सीए, आई जस्ट फोकस ऑन फ्यू थिंग्स, और बड़े आराम से सीए हुआ, बड़े आराम से। So it's good to interact with all of you, having a wonderful session with all of you students. So please study, and we will see each other day after tomorrow. Okay, any query? Gujarati. Neeraj is saying, sir, believe me, I came from office, was much tired and sleepy, and just like that, switched on this class. Maza aa gaya, sir. High five from Wi-Fi, Neeraj. Well done. I am definitely going to try as much as I can make this session interested and interactive. And if you will be with me, let me tell you, you will definitely going to generate interest under income tax. Very soon, you will find out, wow, this is a subject you are waiting for. Okay. So all the best to all of you. See you soon. So Manish ji, can we do the session? Thank you, Manish ji.